Segment with Baylor women's basketball coach Nicki Collen, and the Baylor Bear Hotline is sponsored by Richard Carr Motors. People you can count on. 365 Sports joined by Nicki Collen, Baylor women's basketball coach, as they have West Virginia tomorrow afternoon after the massive win in many ways on Monday in Austin. Nicki, thanks for your time. Is that really kind of what you've been waiting for? You've seen coming. It just came a little bit later than you thought?
I'm not going to make it bigger than it was. I think we've had really good moments on the road. I even think we've had good moments at home where we maybe haven't finished the way we want to finish.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you talk about 40 minutes of staying focused on the game plan, of being as scrappy as we needed to be, I just saw a different look in their eye throughout the game, because obviously it was pretty much a close game and was never more than 5 points until that stretch in the fourth. But I just never saw any panic. And I didn't see panic when we had players in the game that don't normally play a lot, and I thought a lot of that had to do with even watching the film back, watching Sarah Andrews be such a good leader. I just think it was a huge step for her in terms of leadership, because in every huddle, I saw her talking to Kyle, I saw her talking to Bella, and they were listening. And, so I think there were steps made that way. But I think this team has had a lot of good moments, especially on the road. But I just feel like we were really dialed in and really focused.
Speaking of Caitlin, who was here when Baylor won a national champion as just young freshman, a part of that team that made the run to win it all, beat Notre Dame. She has been the glue for you. When you talk about her, your eyes kind of almost like twinkle with emotion and excitement and what she's meant, because she came here pretty much as a role player, highly touted out of Arizona. But what has she meant? What is her legacy with Baylor women's basketball from the time you've known her?
I think the really, really, really cool thing about Caitlin Bickle is she really does bleed green and gold. I mean, she is the epitome of what it is to be a Baylor student athlete, of being selfless, of waiting your turn, of being someone who is going to be there for her teammates, is undervalued even now. No one was talking about her being on an all-conference team preseason. I know the coaches in this league have a ton of respect for her, because I know every team is going at her with everything they've got to get her out of the game, because they know she's foul prone and they also know how valuable she is. So I'm hoping that she gets her respect from a league view. But, she's so much bigger than her statistics for us, because she's probably, if I were to talk about my career in coaching, she's in the top 10 for kids that get the game, watch the game after the game, are going to critique themselves. She's stubborn as heck. If I were to say, something that we've worked to coach out of her is this idea of letting some of her stubbornness go at times, but she knows the game. She's a coach out there. She's always talking to her teammates when she's in foul trouble. She never stops talking on the bench, trying to help her teammates, call out plays, get them where they're supposed to be. And the numbers this year do dictate that. You could always say there are these hustle things and things that you can't stat. But when it comes to statistics this year, the fact that she's 50, 40, 80 player right now, the fact that when you look at our team plus minus, she's doubled anybody else on our team in the positive. Before the Texas game, she was at plus 110 in the plus minus, and our next best player was at plus 60. So it just shows you we're a better team when she's on the floor, and she's the only player on our team that makes us better offensively and defensively. We have players that make us better defensively, players that make us better offensively. She's the only player on our team that makes us better at both ends. And so, and it's not because she's the most skilled or she's the most athletic or she's the most anything. She's just the toughest, smartest, and most passionate, and she's the one kid on the team when I said who watched West Virginia, Oklahoma State. She was dialed in on Wednesday night watching. And so it's a commitment to do her job, and it's a commitment to do her job regardless of what that job is. So yeah, I do light up when I talk about her because I just appreciate who she is and what she brings, and I think our fans appreciate her as well.
You've been coaching in college for a long time, back even when you were at Colorado State. Where are you better as a coach right now than you were perhaps when you arrived at Baylor?
It's a really good question. I've always told this story because it's 100% true. When I got the head coaching job in Atlanta, and we went out in free agency and got, the two most sought after free agents, which Atlanta had a really hard time getting free agents to come there. And we have the best season in Atlanta history in terms of regular season record. We were 15-2 down the stretch. We were 17-0 in games decided by 5 points or less. I mean, everything was golden. It just, if I touched it, it turned to gold. And then Angel McCoughtry got hurt. And the next year we were playing down a player, and 15% of our cap tied into a player that wasn't going to play a game for us that year. And we won 8 games. And I wasn't a better or worse coach. But I learned way more. I learned way more from dealing with being in close games and losing than I did in being in close games and winning. And I feel like there's so much growth in struggle. Like when things are going well, it's easy to take it for granted. It's easy to think you're doing a great job and to not overanalyze and pick at every decision you make. And I think this year I'm continuing to grow as a coach because I want to be great. So I continue to challenge, what did I do there? What could I have done there? What did I miss? How can I communicate better? But if I'm being really honest, the thing where I'm growing the most is coaching 18 to 22-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And not just 18 to 22-year-olds, 18 to 22-year-olds that are in this generation, that are extrinsically motivated, that, sometimes need carrots dangled in front of them, that sometimes I've got to coach energy and effort, which, I don't want to have to do, but that's the reality. That it's not all X's and O's, that it's not all how we can beat an opponent. It's like, are we going to play hard enough to beat the opponent, regardless of the X's and O's? And so I think my biggest growth has come in the adversity of, having players, quit the program, and having sick players and injured players, and one day having 7 players in practice and the next day 9, and just having to juggle expectations. And so I just think that's it. I think it's continuing to stay focused on, what's in front, but really trying to do a better job of meeting these young players, meeting where they're at, and really get a little bit more out of them. And I think that's an ever-evolving thing, in college athletics. So that's where I would say I've had the most growth, continuing to deal with adversity, and really adversity with young people.
Nicki, thank you very much. West Virginia, Baylor tomorrow, 5 o'clock at the Farrell Center. Nicki Collen, Baylor women's basketball coach on 365 Sports.
So another back-to-back game like they had last week. Baylor men at 11 o'clock, Iowa State. The women at 5 against Texas Tech in a game that she just mentioned. Not Texas Tech, against Oklahoma State. Is that right? No.
The women play West Virginia.
West Virginia. One quick note. Remember Jerome Tang yesterday said that Scott Drew and the Baylor staff sent K-State lunch to kind of congratulate them on the year, even though with the game left. The note I got, Nicki Collen saying that when the men the relationship between the two programs so good, that was never the case before, but when the men started 0-3, the women's basketball staff sent them over to lunch. Hey, get your head up, all that. And then when the women lost, 3 or 4 in a row, the men reciprocated, the program reciprocated. And she was just talking about how their relationship and having each other's back is fantastic. All right, when we come